Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Honor to the Wise One, honor to the Sublime One, honor to the Fully Enlightened One. So welcome Dhamma friends, once again to Tuesday Dhamma Talk. I believe I've seen everybody here before, with the exception of maybe Ruby. So I will give a brief introduction. My name is Jayantha. That's my Pali name, formerly known here as Ferox. I'm a 34-year-old lay Buddhist disciple of the Theravada tradition. You do know Ruby, okay. Well, I'm really bad with names, so there you go. Okay, so let's begin. Welcome, Patakin. It's always good to see an old Dhamma friend. So, I heard a very interesting analogy, a very interesting saying, and it was so Buddhist that I had to use it. It's such an amazing phrase, and it captures the core of Dhamma so much. And this is how it goes. People are like rivers. They flow in and out of our lives, and it's not a good thing to dam the river from either letting people flow in or from letting people flow out. Think about that just a minute. People are like rivers. They flow in and out of our lives. It's not a good thing to dam the river from letting the people flow in or flowing out. That first part right there, people are like rivers. They flow in and out. What is that? Right there, that's impermanence. That is seeing things as they truly are. When you see that phenomena begin, they arise, they come to a peak, and then they cease. That's when you're following the breath. You're following the breath in, following the breath out. So, just like impermanence, just like following the breath, just like in meditation, seeing that things arise and things cease. It's the same thing with people in our lives. And let's talk about the dam. And we do a lot of damming, don't we? We'll talk about where that damming comes from. What's the root of that damming? Those of you who heard me talk, you pretty much probably already know what I'm going to say. But let's go through the damming part of it. When we put the dam in front of our river, we're not letting anybody in, right? We don't want anybody to come into our lives. And we know people that do this, and we've done it ourselves to varying degrees, here or there. There are some people that have such a large dam, like Niagara Falls, in front of them, that nobody is allowed into their life. They don't want to have anything to do with anybody. Someone whom I think is a good example of having a large dam in front of them is good old Ebenezer Scrooge, using a reference to something that's not for another 6 months. It's Christmas in August. So Ebenezer Scrooge, he put a big dam right in front of his river. so that nobody could come in. He didn't want to bother with anybody. People, humbug. A good place to fish. Let's we might see if we can incorporate the fishing into this analogy. We'll see how it flows. Just like how people flow in and out of our lives, these talks flow. I take this, I don't have a prepared paper of what I know the topic I'm going to talk about, and that's about it. So let's see how this talk flows, right? This is how the monks do it. That's what I like to do it. I like to challenge myself. And I like to, when people make comments and add to it, and who knows where our talk goes, right? So, let's go back to where I was going. Okay, yeah. So we have one extreme. This is somebody who puts a dam in front, and they wall themselves out from the wall, from other people, from humanity. Those of you who might be Game of Thrones fans, you might think of the big wall in the north. They put the wall in front so that they keep everybody out, and then they man the wall. Yeah. So, what is that? What is this putting up this wall? When we start to meditate, we see that we put up walls. And where does it come from? Martin's going right to the core there. Fear. When we put up a wall, and by the way, just like in real life, walls never last. Walls rarely ever accomplish what they want to accomplish. Even the Great Wall of China only did what it wanted to do for a little bit until the Mongols found a way through it. So wall, dam, same thing. No matter what, how strong the wall is you think it is, there's always a way through. So, when we put a wall up, we don't want to deal with people. There's a lot of different reasons for that. A big reason is fear, as Martin said. It's an interesting statement there. Very interesting. I like it. So when we have this fear, but what is the fear of? The fear of loss, perhaps? The fear of rejection, which is also loss. The fear of being hurt. All of these fears have a root. And who has heard me talk enough that they know exactly what I'm going to say? Anybody? What is the root of fear? What are the three fetters, the three roots that I always talk about? Yammer on and on and on. Ignorance, yep. Well, that's one of them. Greed, hatred, and delusion, right? Or you might hear attachment, aversion, and ignorance. Those are the three things, the three fetters. They're called different names, but so when we put up this wall, there is an aversion there. The aversion might be towards other people. It might be towards experiences. It might even be towards other beings. We like to put up walls and put up barriers for critters, don't we? We don't like mice and and spiders and all kinds of critters in our house. Our house is that wall. Our house is that barrier, right? And when those critters break the wall, it's like, uh-oh. And the White Walkers, yeah. The little mice are the White Walkers. They're coming in. So when we have this aversion, don't we? You know, we have the stereotype of the woman jumping on the chair. Oh no, get it out, get it out. Yes. That's a good analogy. So when the wall breaks, when there's cracks in the wall, in the dam, when they come in, when these things come in, an even greater aversion occurs. Aversion so strong that it can lead to a hatred of these beings. We feel that we are protected in behind this wall. We feel that the wall is permanent. It will always be there. It will always protect us. Whether it's a mental wall or a physical wall, right? But what do we know as Buddhists? What do we know as those who practice the Dhamma? We know that there is not one thing in this existence that is permanent. The only thing permanent is impermanence. And always remember, we're not only talking about sentient beings here. Everything in existence will fade away given enough time. Even the universe itself. All the billions of galaxies, the billions of stars, all of those stars will eventually run out of gas and they will go dark. A permanent dam against the act of making dams. We can. Although I don't know if we can call it a dam though, because what we're doing is we're opening the floodgates. We're letting go. We're allowing that people come in, and when it's their time to go, whether it's through death, whether it's through they don't want to deal with you anymore, whether it's through whatever reason, they move. And when they have to go, they go down the stream and they float out of your life. When we can do that, not just for people, but for everything. Our nice sports car comes in, and we have a nice sports car, and we have it maybe for 10 years, or maybe we have it for 2 days and it gets into an accident. We had the nice sports car flow in, and then it flows out. Our universe flowed in, and in about, what did they say, maybe about 10 trillion years, something like that, our universe is going to flow out. It's done. All the gas and all of the billions of stars in the known universe will eventually go to dark, and the universe will die. Not one thing is permanent, except for impermanence. That's it. So we know that we're putting the wall up in the beginning out of fear. But the fear, the root is aversion, right? We don't want anything, we don't want to have to deal with anything that we don't like, that we have an aversion to. And what are we talking about? We're talking about dukkha, we're talking about dispassion, we're talking about dissatisfaction, suffering. What is dukkha? Part of what is dukkha is union with the unpleasant, or having to deal with things that we don't like. And because we push that away, we don't want to deal with things that we don't like. We have what you call it? We have things that we like. We have things that we don't like. We make choices. So when we have things, we identify things through contact with our senses, We identify this experience or this object as something that we don't like. So we make that choice. We have an aversion to that. We don't want to have anything to do with it. We try to push it away. And when we try to push it away and we put the dam up, we know that it might last for a little bit, but eventually that dam's going to break. There's no escaping dukkha. This is the first noble truth. There's no escaping this. There's no escaping what we would consider suffering. But if we go back to the talk I made last week about mind being the forerunner, the suffering doesn't come from the outside. It comes from inside our own mind. That is how we escape. So this we learn. How we learn from it is observing our mind doing what it wants to do. We observe our mind building the wall. We observe our mind, the aversion coming up. You walk into the office, right? And the first person you see, is it a person you like, or is it a person you dislike? Is it a person you have an attachment to? Is it a person you have an aversion to? Is that first person that you're going to see, is that going to affect how your day begins? To an enlightened person? No. They don't have any likes or dislikes. They don't. A being is a being. Phenomena that happens is just phenomena that happens. To us, I ran into that jerk John. I can't stand that guy. He's that. He double parks. Blah blah blah. And then the rest of my day is ruined because I ran into this guy. Or I ran into Susie. She's cute, and we had a nice talk. Blah blah blah. And now I'm all happy. Blah blah blah. And for the rest of the day I'm happy until I run into John again, and then, dang, my whole mood is ruined. They ruined my day. They ruined my mood. Right? That's the aversion. But what are we doing? We're creating these walls. We're creating this all in our mind. It has nothing to do with the actual phenomena that occurred outside of our mind. So that's how we learn from this. We observe, we practice, we meditate, we observe how our mind works. And when we see that, when we see these processes of how this aversion happens, how this attachment happens, we do it less. And it's a natural thing. It's something that almost happens without even thinking. So that is how you actually learn from it. You can try to do it in a analytical way through your intelligence, thinking it out. This, that. But that doesn't work unless you have that mindfulness first to be able to see the mind processes happen. If you just started thinking about it, you can think about it forever and not really come up with a good answer or a way to stop it. But when you start to see things as they truly are, the deeper you go into the wormhole, or the rabbit hole, as they say in the Matrix, how deep do you want to go, or whatever. The deeper you go into the rabbit hole, the wormhole of your mind, of your subconscious, the more you're able to see the processes as they happen earlier and earlier and earlier. Eventually you might be only able to see, first you might be able only to see 2 or 3 steps of the mind process, of how the mind came to some decision to do some kind of action. And the more you do it, the earlier you see it. So you go from seeing 2 processes to 3 to 4 to 5. Eventually you can see just this whole chain of volitional formations, of mental formations in your mind that lead to the action. And when you can start to at least see those first couple, you know you're on the, you see it. It's like, wow, this is amazing. Like, I can see these things. And as you progress, you see more and more. And in Bhante G, he talks about in the book Mindfulness in Plain English, how you eventually get to the subconscious. You can start to begin to see. Yes, you start to begin to see exactly, even from the subconscious, where your thoughts come from. I don't know if I can't really talk about that from personal experience yet myself, but I can see where it's going. I can see, I'm at the point where I can see it getting to that point, because I can see a certain amount of the processes as they occur. So getting back, so we have this wall. So what are we doing? We want to, through our practice, through metta, we're breaking that front wall. We're allowing people in, right? But we have the opposite end of the stream. It may seem a little different, but it's actually the same route. The opposite end of the stream, putting that wall, is based on actually attachment, right? We have this. We have these likes and dislikes. We like this person. We like this item. We grab it, right? We have it. We finally have it. Oh, I wanted to date this girl forever, and she said no. Finally, she said yes. Now I have her. She's my girlfriend. So I put this wall. Boom. And now, if she wants to go, she can't. She's bumping against the dam. And you're not letting her go. And those of you who know what I do child protective services. I deal with domestic violence situations on a daily basis. I see controlling people. I see how it works. When they have that wall, you don't want to let your spouse go out with friends. You don't want to let your spouse do this. And what is that? That's putting up that wall. You don't want them, because you fear them leaving. You fear them flowing out of your life. So you put up that wall. So everything that wants to leave gets piled up against that dam on the other end. But the trick is that it comes from the other route. Because for the stuff to have gotten past the first wall, if you have that first wall, you had to have at least had some kind of attachment to it. Because I don't know, if you didn't have an attachment, if you didn't have totally that first wall was broken, then you probably wouldn't have the second wall either, because you'd understand impermanence. You'd be able to let things go. So when you have this attachment, you want to keep these things. And you know what? That's dukkha as well. Separation from the beloved is dukkha, is stress, suffering, unsatisfactoriness. You have something, you like it, and then it goes. You have a wife, a husband, you love them, you want to keep them, they die, they get sick of you, they divorce you, whatever. They find somebody else, they want to leave, and then they go. They come into your life, they come out of your life. They might be in your life for 50 years, but eventually they have to leave. That is just the way of things. That is the nature. All things flow. People flow into your life, people flow out of your life. That's just the way it is. Yes, letting it all flow is letting it all go. And letting go is the hardest part. An example of letting go, I just started going to a rock gym, like climbing rocks and stuff. I haven't done that since I was a kid. And the first time, you get on the ropes and you go up and you're up top, you're up like 50 feet in the air, and the person has you on the bottom. They say, come down. How do you come down? You have to let go. You have to let your hands off the rocks and trust in the person and trust in the ropes. And the first time there's this hesitation, like, I'm 50 feet up in the air. Am I really trusting these ropes? Am I really trusting this person? And you let go, and you're hanging there, and you just come down nice and slow. Now, after you do it like 6, 7, 8 times, it's like nothing. You trust it, and you let it go. That's the same analogy for this training as well. The training of Dhamma, the training of meditation. In the beginning, you have these fears, these attachments. I don't know if I really want to let go, but you have to let go. And when you start to let go, that's actually when progress happens. And that's a whole other talk. I've talked about that before. But letting go, breaking those dams. For those of you who might be old enough, you might have heard Mr. Gorbachev tear down that wall. So I say to all of you, everybody, tear down that dam. We all have it. All of us have dams, including myself. So we have to work on taking down those dams, letting the water flow in, letting the water build another one. That's not good. So when we have the wall coming out, there's that saying that you hear. You always hear all these crazy sayings when it comes to love and all that stuff. And the saying, what's the saying? If you love something, let it go and it'll come back to you, or whatever, something like that. So, in a way, it's a good saying, because it's talking about letting go. If you love something, if you really have an attachment, you don't want to let go. If you're able to lessen the attachment, that's when you're able to let go. So when you're able to say, when that person, think about it this way. This person, you loved this person, you shared a bunch of years with this person, and then you're done with them. Is it easy? Is it easy to let them flow down? Yeah, your attachment's lessened. You have little to no attachment. So yeah, okay, here, the dam's open. Get out of here. But when you have a strong attachment, you want to keep that dam. You want to fight. Letting go of that dam. If you have a strong attachment, usually the thing that you're trying to hold on to is long gone before you actually let the dam open, if that makes any sense. Because you're still holding on, even though it's long gone. They found a way to sneak past the dam. They're out. They're gone. But in your mind, that dam is still there, and you're struggling with the fact that they actually are gone. In your mind, they're not. In your mind, you don't want to come to that conclusion that they are, even though they are. They're like special forces dudes or whatever. They roped up the dam, and they're already on the other side. They're gone. They left. They're not, they say goodbye to you. But in your mind, until you come to that decision, that conclusion that, they're really gone, then you start to be able to let the dam down, and you can heal. And then hopefully not put up another dam. But a lot of times, why do we put up the first dam? Because people got through the second dam, right? This person, that we love this person, they're gone. We have hurt, we have fear, we don't want to have to go through that experience again, so we put the first dam up. Boom. It's not worth it. I'm not going through that again. So you don't let people in. So the trick is, when people come into our lives, we enjoy our time with them for however long we have, and when they're ready to go, then we're okay. We've enjoyed it. We've had a good time. See you later. Easier said than done, isn't it? How many of us could actually do that? That's a tough one. Especially if you have a strong attachment to this person or to an item, to anything, really. That's really tough. But that's something that we build, that's something that we work on as time goes on. The more you practice, the more dispassion you have for things that people consider important in life. Things start to not be as important as they were. And I'm experiencing that to a certain degree at this point. The only thing that I would say that keeps me attached at this point in my life, truly attached, is my family. That's it. My nephew and my parents and my sisters. This is, those of you who know that I am on the contemplating path of becoming a monastic. I've been able to give up TV. I've given up the talk radio that I've listened to for 17 years. All of these things actually give me headaches now. They're easy to give up, right? But what's hardest to give up? The things you have the most attachment to, right? And who do you, some people might have had, what you consider bad families, and they have little to no attachment to their families. Some people have, strong attachment. Well, this is the thing. There's DVDs. So, the thing is also, I don't know. I've read the book, and ironically, one of the things I think about is, if you've read the books, you know that the author takes 4 to 5. Well, if you read fantasy books in general, you know that authors take 4 to 5 years between books. So I read book 5. We're talking about A Song of Ice and Fire, which is the novel series. The Game of Thrones is the TV show. And there's a strong possibility that I will end up being a monk before book 6 comes out. So I may never know what happens to all of the characters. But, and I think about it, is it really that important? Is a story really that important? No, not really. I mean, a story is a story. Anything that you can see in a story, you can see in your own mind, because it all comes from your own mind. The deceit, the jealousy, the hatred, the attachment, all of that, you could write your own story. Some people are better at writing stories than others, but it's really all about the human condition, right? And how do we know about the human condition? How do we view it with wisdom and insight? We do it through our practice. Yes, that's how we know. So while there is still a little bit of an attachment there, and it's still something I enjoy doing. I've always enjoyed reading fantasy novels and playing role-playing games and stuff like that. I've always enjoyed that. But I don't really do it much anymore. There's no real good point to it in my life to do it. There's a lot of other things that I need to do to work towards. And this is not something that you don't do, and this is a whole other talk that I can do. I think I have done a talk on this. I'm a damn watcher, yeah. When in Buddhism, when you give up things, it's supposed to be natural. Things happen, dispassion happens naturally through practice. There has never been a vow that wasn't meant to be broken. And I will say that 100%. Because a vow is something that is done. It's something that you're vowing through pure willpower, not through actually being able to do it. I vow to lose 20 pounds. I vow to do this. I vow to not do that. Eventually, you're going to break. But if you have no attachment to it, if you have no passion for it, then, what's the point? It's almost like sounded like, like you're depressed or something. But the Buddha talks about these dispassion. When you are able to have enough dispassion for renunciation, true renunciation, to become a monk, and to not have any fears or worries that you have still these strong attachments to the world, then you're on the path. You're a lot less likely to build those dams. But still, eventually, over time, you still may. Well, he became the hero because he dropped the dams, didn't he? In the end, he goes to his uncle, or his nephew, who invited him for for Christmas dinner, and he says, "I'm gonna go to Christmas dinner. I'm gonna dance. I'm gonna have time with my family that I ignored for all these years." Well, yeah, if you're writing a great story, then yeah, dam is a good thing to, because it shows adversity, right? To break the dam, and that's a good story that you overcame adversity in your mind. But I'll tell you about adversity. The story of the Buddha is adversity. It's the same thing. What he went through for those 6 years, and what we can all do, adversity in our mind, to break through, to go against the stream, to become different, to break through all dams, not just some dams, break through all concept. And that journey, that is a heck of a journey. So I've been talking for 40 minutes. If there's any comments or questions or anything, we can continue to talk regarding that. If there's no comments or questions specifically on this topic, if anybody has any specific questions on any Buddhist topic, we can go over that as well. Oh, it is always open to discussion. Just most people feel that they're interrupting. So you are the dam buster. You're like, hey, I'm gonna, comment and stuff. I like it when people comment because they add to the discussion. So I praise you, friend, my Dhamma friend. Yes, exactly. Do you say we should give up on love? Uh, well, depends on what you mean by love. There is attachment love, then there is metta. There's two different things. Having loving kindness, loving friendliness for all beings equally is true love for all beings. Having love this romantic kind of love that we think of for this person, that is attachment. Now, that's not saying, hey, listen, that's bad. You know, that's an attachment in this life. That's what everybody has these attachments. But it makes sense that that is an attachment that you are, no, not love for all, love for attaching love, romantic love. Patakin, always good to see you, friend. I'll see you in another time. No, nothing is bad. There's no such thing as good and bad or good and evil in Buddhism. There is only skillful and unskillful actions. There is only actions that, even they're not bad. We're just learning how to break through them. Well, think about it this way. The ideal is not to have romantic love. Monks don't marry. Celibacy. These things, you don't, you're breaking through attachments. Monks leave their family. You're trying not to be attachment. You're not trying not to attach to your family, to have romantic love, and that, I love this person. I want to spend the rest of my life with this person. That kind of stuff. That is very, very, very different than having loving friendliness, loving kindness for all beings. Very different. When we are having loving friendliness or loving kindness for all beings, that is equanimity. It's an equal feeling of love for all beings. We don't take any beings as loving them more than others. We like this being better than others. When you think about it this way. You're in the middle of the street, correct? You're in the middle of the street with your spouse. You're in the middle of the street with a total stranger. Somebody comes up to you with a gun, says, you choose, one of these people have to die. Who do you think you're going to choose? Oh, the guy holding the gun, he has all the cards. He's making you choose. Me is an interesting answer. It is an interesting answer. But think, in all honesty, in our attachments, do we care if a random person dies that we have no attachment to, or do we care more if somebody whom we have a strong attachment to dies? What do we care about more? Naturally, we care about the person we have the stronger attachment to. What we're trying to do with metta and equanimity is to have the same thoughts of loving kindness for all beings. Now, is that something that we can achieve? Yes, it's something that we can achieve. Is it something that is very, very rare and really only occurs where you're close to becoming enlightened? Yes. That's not something that the average person can do. When you have equanimity for all beings, don't forget, you're including yourself. Yourself is always part of all beings. You never forget yourself. What if you do forget? Then you accept that you forgot. And then you try to remember next time. You might observe the mental processes of why you forgot. There is no guilt in Buddhism. You don't feel bad. Ah, oh, I forgot. I didn't do this. I didn't do that. That, you know what that does? That causes aversion. That causes problems. That's like my experience of meditating in the beginning. Because I would get mad at myself because the directions say this, the directions say that, and I can't do this, or this is happening, or that's happening. Come on, mind, come on, body, you're supposed to do this, and you get this anger, this aversion. Well, romantic love is also a lot of times based on physical attractiveness too. There's a lot of different aspects to romantic love. There's nothing wrong. It's just an action. That's all. The one thing that you need to know is that there's no good and evil in Buddhism. There's only skillful and unskillful actions. Because they are trying towards enlightenment. They are trying for true equanimity for all beings. So that's why the monks do this. The unskilled are what creates the skilled. You mean understanding as you do unskilled actions? Unskillful? Observing their consequences? Is that what you mean? Okay. If you're observing, yeah, you can do a heck of a lot of folly for a lot of lifetimes and not get wisdom out of it. That's what we've all done. If you agree or believe in rebirth, that's what we've been doing for lifetimes beyond aeons. That's why we're still here. But we're trying to get out of that cycle, right? We're trying to rise above it. No, well, since it's a gradual practice, it's something that you come across as you do these. You observe that these unskillful actions bring harm to myself or others, right? So you practice and you understand that they do this, and so you do it less and less. So yeah, I mean, obviously, you had to have understood the unskillful that you did an unskillful action to begin with, so that the unskillful actions had to exist before you can rise above them. So before you can, yeah. Wisdom and compassion come together. Yeah. compassion without wisdom is silly. Wisdom without compassion is silly. What's compassion without wisdom? You know what? I consider compassion without wisdom like I picture in my mind like this really, 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 really whacked out hippie person that has all these kind of beliefs and stuff, but there's no wisdom. And wisdom without compassion is almost like, a lot of ways, like if you know Star Trek, like Spock, like somebody who thinks without like some kind of compassion for beings, almost like logically. So the two come together, and that's the importance. Harm the Buddha experienced in his early years. He didn't experience much harm. I mean, his mother died when he was young. He experienced a lot of pleasure being hidden away. And in a way that was harmful, because what it did, and see, this is the thing, right? The king put up a barrier, right? Because he didn't want his son to leave. He didn't want his son to become a Buddha. However, all that being sheltered actually pushed the Buddha into thinking and contemplating more, right? And wanting to see what was the true reality. So all of that being sheltered actually pushed him to doing what he did. The wall, the dam, you and your dam serving great purposes. 100% truth. I can't deny that, yes. But we want to eventually get away from the dams that are like crutches, like training wheels. Yeah. Yep. That's yeah. Yes, exactly. Adversity is the greatest teacher. So unless there's, I guess, any final comments or questions, we're coming towards the end here of our hour. Got about 5 minutes left, something like that. This is, I have to admit, this is one of the most lively and participatory talks that we've had, like probably ever. So I thank you all very, very much for commenting and participating. I wish it was like this every Tuesday. Sometimes I come and I yammer on for a half hour and then nobody has any questions and we end. And that can get boring, right? Yeah. Of course, every Tuesday here we have Dhamma, Dhamma talks and discussion. And then every Thursday we have metta meditation. Sundays I usually do a Basics of Buddhism class and a sutta reading. However, this weekend I'm going away to the forest monastery. I'm going to have my own personal 4-day meditation retreat, so I will not be here this weekend to do the normal stuff. I will be here though Thursday night to do the metta meditation. Metta meditation will be very nice to do before waking up early the next morning to drive 5 hours. No, I've never met the Dalai Lama. Don't know if I ever will. I have a high respect for the Dalai Lama, even though he's not in my tradition. But that's one of the things that I should talk about. How we shouldn't get too attached to one tradition or another. That should be another talk. Because if you can be one who, I give myself as an example. I'm pretty set in the Theravada tradition. There are things that work with me, I understand that it fits me personally the best. However, I've been on Mahayana retreats. I've learned a lot. I've learned about the Bodhisattva path and this and that. And while I'm not 100% sure I'm too for the Bodhisattva path or care about it much, I learned one story that I love, that I use so much in my daily life, because I like this Bodhisattva. He makes sense, and he's awesome. He's the Bodhisattva, the non-disparaging Bodhisattva. And the Bhikkhuni who told me this story, she made me laugh the way she was telling this story. The non-disparaging Bodhisattva saw that all beings have the potential to become a Buddha, right? And so he would go around and he would say, I'll never disparage you, future Buddha. I'll never disparage you. So he would go around to everybody. I'll never disparage you. And it got to the point where he would go into places and they would like start throwing rocks at him and stuff like that. And as he's running away, dodging rocks, he's looking back with his hands folded and he says, I'll never disparage you, future Buddhas, future friends. So I have this picture in my mind of this guy running away with rocks being thrown at him. He's saying, I'll never disparage you. And I love this guy. He's my favorite. Of all the stories of bodhisattvas that I've heard, I like this guy the best. And the reason being, it works. Because if you think about it, like, if you're driving, right, and somebody cuts you off, and you know what's funny, if you're driving, usually the people that do like the cutting off, they'll also like give you the finger if you beep, like if you're like, like they didn't do anything, right? So, and that gets you angry. That's people get road rage off of that. You know what you do? I'd never disparage you, friend, Dhamma friend. I'd never disparage you, because that person has the potential to become enlightened, right? So the non-disparaging bodhisattva taught me a good lesson just from hearing his story. That's a good lesson to learn. So I do that. I use him. I say, I'll never disparage you, friend. The other thing I do now is that if there's somebody does something and this brings up an anger in me, even if it's just a flicker of something, that my facial expressions might not even change, but it's just a flicker that's coming out, right? Because somebody did something, and I think to myself, just like myself, this being and all beings want to be well, happy, and peaceful. That's metta. So you're thinking, you're knowing that this person, and when you know that just like yourself, this person, this being wants to be well, happy, and peaceful, your anger disappears. It's gone. Because that's metta. You're doing metta in that split second. That's metta. Loving friendliness for all beings. So instead of this person's action causing you anger, this person's action is teaching you, because it's a dam, right? Where is it? This adversity is teaching you how to be better, right? How to train your mind. So when this person, I caught a fish. I love it. The poor fish. I gotta throw him back though. You don't want to cause him too much suffering. Yep. So when you're able to, you have these experiences that come up. Those are experiences, those are situations where you can learn and where you can develop in your practice, where you can develop your mind. Without those situations, as we've come to a consensus here, we would not be able to develop the mind to the point where we want to be, where we want to let go, destroy all dams, accept that all things are impermanent, enjoy them while they are there, and when it's time for them to flow on, we let them flow without attachment, without aversion. And when there is no attachment and aversion, there is no ignorance. Because without ignorance, there is no attachment and aversion, and we are free, right? So, I think noble is a beaver. So, once again, everybody, thank you for this wonderful, wonderful discussion. This is great. I love that everybody was able to talk and discuss. I look forward to hopefully this happening more in the future. Like I said, this is why I like to do this the way it is. It's tradition for when you listen to a monk talk, you hold your questions to the end. For me, I like it this way, and plus I'm not a monk, so you don't have to. It works out better. So until next time, friends, my Dhamma friends, much metta to you all, and Sukhi Hantu, may you be happy.